Right when the story kicks off, the guy we're following is walking through this rundown, tight alleyway. Everything around him looks pretty disgusting, and he's completely aware of how bad it is. While he's making his way down this same familiar road, he can't stop thinking about how this whole neighborhood is just one noisy, filthy studio apartment area. His days are all basically the same thing on repeat. Hidden somewhere in all that craziness, he's living in this super small rooftop room. It's only about 180 square feet total. He shows up right at his front door with a shopping bag in his grip. He reaches in and grabs a cup of instant noodles, clearly planning to just relax at his place. When he looks at the ramen cup, you can see on his expression that he's been eating nothing but instant noodles for who knows how many days straight. This dude goes by the name Bong Jae-hyuk. He's 25 years old and doesn't have any kind of regular job keeping him stable. Sure, he's technically without a full-time position, but he's working his tail off at 3 different part-time jobs just to survive. He's got one shift at a small shop that sells snacks and drinks, another at a restaurant that serves grilled meat, and a third one where he does whatever physical work needs doing that day. He's been working himself to the bone constantly, but his bank account stays empty no matter what. It doesn't matter how many hours he puts in, because every bit of money he makes vanishes immediately since he's drowning in a huge pile of debt. Jae-hyuk has this obligation he absolutely can't walk away from, which means he has to keep making payments on it, whether he likes it or not. Eventually, he makes it back to his tiny home, puts a package of ramen in a pot on the burner, and sits down to eat it like it's just any regular evening in his life. Suddenly, without any warning whatsoever, a system notification appears right in front of him. The message is telling him that Bong Jae-hyuk has just awakened to his powers. Jae-hyuk noticed the notification showing up on his device and completely froze up, totally blanking on the fact that his steaming hot ramen was sitting right there. Almost immediately, his mouth gets super hot, and the burning feeling is intense. The painful sensation really hits him hard. After the burning pain settles down a little bit, Jae-hyuk keeps his eyes locked on the system screen, having a tough time accepting what's displayed in front of him. The term that keeps repeating in his thoughts is this word about being awakened, and he's questioning whether this whole thing is actually legit or not. He begins to wonder if there's somebody secretly watching over him from the shadows, maybe even giving him some kind of special gift or advantage. Another thought crosses his mind that maybe he just discovered something absolutely huge, like this could be his ticket to earning real money for once. Then suddenly his whole mood completely crashes. He starts getting worried that this mysterious thing could actually end up hurting him badly. His imagination shows him getting cut into pieces by some terrifying creature. He starts imagining what it would feel like to be stuck and squeezed inside solid ice, just freezing to death from the bitter cold. His brain then switches to a different nightmare scenario, being surrounded by flames and burning alive in agony. His thoughts go to even darker stuff, like the possibility of someone secretly putting poison in something he eats and him just dying within a couple of minutes. His mind wanders to terrible images of himself being smashed by some concealed trap that appears out of thin air. The story begins going more in-depth into who Jae-hyuk really is as a person. He's the type of dude who pretends not to see things when problems show up, even when they're happening directly in front of his eyes. Usually he just convinces himself that whatever's going wrong isn't something he needs to deal with and keeps on walking. He never actually challenged anything unjust or unfair, just kept looking down and stuck to doing things he felt confident he could manage. For his entire 25 years of life, Bong Jae-hyuk stayed away from anything that could make people judge him negatively. That's basically been his strategy for his whole existence, up until now. Without any kind of heads up, that awakening notification showed up and completely messed with his head. He just remained sitting there, genuinely confused about what was happening to him. He started questioning if maybe the reason he didn't awaken sooner was simply because he'd completely passed out from exhaustion. As he thought more about it, he made the decision to open up the status screen one more time. Jae-hyuk's information appeared on the display, totally clear and easy to read. His complete name was listed as Bong Jae-hyuk, and it showed he belonged to Black Tower, Korea. The system had him marked as Level 1, which was literally the very beginning stage. His special ability was listed as Summon, though he could only bring forth one creature at any given moment, so nothing too crazy just yet. The catalog area? Completely blank with nothing in it. In the skills section, his choices were broken down into summoning a particular thing, taking a chance on a random summon, or simply switching his summons around. He also had some regular abilities like getting to go into the tower 1 time per day and having a storage space where he could keep his items. Jae-hyuk stared at all the information displayed before him, feeling completely confused and lost. He had absolutely zero idea about when his special ability changed into this summoning power. The story explains in detail what a trait really means. Whenever somebody awakens to their powers, they receive a unique ability that's called a trait. These traits come in all different varieties. Stuff like being skilled with swords, knowing how to fight with a spear, defending yourself with a shield, shooting with a bow, or pure hand-to-hand combat techniques. Other people get crazy abilities like making their body grow to giant size, delivering powerful crushing attacks, summoning creatures from nothing, or even having healing powers. The list of possible abilities goes on, which means every single person's trait is totally unique to them. Folks figured out eventually that you could summon all sorts of different beings: ghost-like spirits, mystical legendary animals, stone golems, evil demon creatures, and tons of other things. Summoning basically means you have the power to call up these particular beings and actually make them do what you want. Jae-hyuk just sat in his spot, completely spaced out, struggling to understand how everything became this insane so quickly. His thoughts kept circling back to this fresh new ability, this thing about being able to call forth creatures, and he genuinely wanted to learn exactly what kinds of things he could actually accomplish with it. Right in that moment, he kind of hoped something amazing and dramatic would go down. With that thought in his brain, he prepares himself mentally and decides to try out the summoning ability. He stays completely silent, never speaking out any particular name or creature, which means nobody has any clue what's going to appear before them. He sits there waiting patiently, but nothing shows up at all, and the whole situation just leaves him feeling confused and disappointed. Time continues passing by and absolutely nothing is happening, so he's beginning to believe that these special powers simply don't function when you're outside the tower. That's the conclusion Jae-hyuk is coming to, at least. When players are inside the tower walls, they have full access to use all their unique skills and special abilities. But the second they walk back outside, it's like someone flipped off a light switch. Absolutely nothing works anymore. When they're out in the normal everyday world, aside from being able to look at the system's information screen, they're just ordinary regular humans like everybody else walking around. Jae-hyuk glances over at his computer screen and can't stop himself from making fun of himself a bit. He thinks to himself that anybody who's ever gone online even one single time would definitely already understand this basic kind of information. Not a single person actually believes that a special skill could activate and work outside the tower's boundaries. However, right at that exact moment, something completely unexpected occurred. Without any warning signs, the system screen suddenly appears with a notification explaining that a random summoning process is beginning right now. Jae-hyuk sees the message pop up, and his whole body just locks up. He's struggling to believe the possibility that summoning abilities could actually function outside the tower walls as well. Right there in his bedroom, something absolutely incredible takes place. A glowing bright light in the shape of a human figure suddenly appears near the doorway. The shining light stays floating there for a moment, then gradually begins transforming itself into an actual solid figure. Little by little, the glowing shape kept looking more and more like an actual human being, and by that point, it was obvious to everyone that Jae-hyuk had actually succeeded in bringing over a real living person. Jae-hyuk just remains standing there, unable to move a muscle. He genuinely cannot believe the fact that he actually succeeded in summoning an actual real human being. It becomes clear that the person who appeared is definitely human. He addresses Jae-hyuk respectfully by saying the word for a superior and even gives him a proper military-style salute, acting like he's showing up for official orders or something similar. Jae-hyuk just stands frozen in place, completely stuck, his mind racing to process everything that's unfolding around him. He's unable to understand how a human being got summoned when the tower building isn't even involved in any of this. While his brain is blanking out, the person he summoned all of a sudden turns his head to look at something else. Just from catching the scent in the air, he knows right away that it's instant noodles. The instant he sees the ramen sitting there, a huge smile spreads across his entire face. He walks directly toward the noodles and glances at Jae-hyuk, clearly hoping he'll get permission to have some. Jae-hyuk gave a quick nod the second he understood what the guy wanted. The person he summoned didn't hesitate even for a second. He picked up the ramen container and began blowing air on it to make it less hot. Jae-hyuk just watched the whole thing, coming to the realization that he'd somehow summoned a person who literally just wanted some food and absolutely nothing else. He picks up the ramen cup and takes a mouthful while it's still super hot, not even bothering to let it cool down first. He's just sitting there, relaxed, chowing down on his meal, and randomly comments that there's probably some new spicy variety available now. Jae-hyuk hears him say that and immediately feels irritated, thinking this guy most likely considers even the least spicy noodle soup to be burning hot. It just proves to him that this dude really is someone who only cares about eating one quick meal. The moment passes, but Jae-hyuk can't help rolling his eyes a little bit. Jae-hyuk keeps coming back to the exact same question in his mind, attempting to understand how summoning a human being could even be possible outside the tower's walls. It simply doesn't add up in his brain. He's never witnessed or even heard about anyone being able to use their special abilities anywhere except inside the tower itself. The entire weird situation just feels completely wrong to him. That confusing thought was still bouncing around in his head when the status screen appeared again suddenly. This particular time, it informed him that his summoning ability actually worked on regular humans and also demi-humans. The screen explained the various ranking levels he had the power to summon. It began at R grade, which meant rare, then climbed up to SR grade, meaning super rare, then SSR grade, which stood for special super rare, and finally the highest possible level, LSSR grade, representing legend special super rare. The system essentially explains that the person doing the summoning and the being they summoned can communicate with each other no matter what situation they're in. While Jae-hyuk is reading through all this information, it genuinely feels to him like he's literally inside some kind of video game. All of a sudden, another system notification appears, clarifying that any summoned being has to obey 3 core rules. After seeing this brand new information, Jae-hyuk's brain just goes completely blank for a second. He totally wasn't expecting that to show up. A short time later, another notification appeared, spelling out the 3 primary rules for anybody who gets summoned into existence. The first rule stated that the summoned creature had to prioritize protecting the summoner's life above everything else. The second rule made it clear they had to obey every single command the summoner told them to do, without asking any questions. The third rule explained that if the first 2 rules ever contradicted each other in some way, keeping the summoner alive and safe always took priority no matter what. Jae-hyuk comes to the realization that the person he brought into this world has to do exactly whatever he tells them to do, and he's honestly feeling pretty pleased about that discovery. But right now he's starting to get curious about who this mysterious new person actually is. Then, while the scene continues focusing on what's happening, it becomes clear that the summoned guy already ate up all of the instant noodles, even though he originally said he'd only have 1 single bite. Immediately after that happens, all of the statistics and information about the summoned person show up on screen. He goes by the name of John Cossack, and he's known as the Insane Assassin from the Cruel Guild. He's ranked at SR level, which means super rare, and his class type is Assassin, and he's a regular human being. He's able to stay summoned for a maximum of 6 hours, though there isn't any satisfaction rating available for him at this point. After he disappears back to wherever he came from, you have to wait 3 full hours before you can summon him again. People say that John Cossack was the individual that nobody in the entire Assassin Guild ever wanted to cross or anger. The guy was absolutely crazy, like completely unpredictable and dangerous. However, he always completed whatever job he was given, hardly ever failed a mission. His success rate when it came to completing assignments? 99% perfect. He even successfully assassinated a 5th Circle Dark Mage, which basically made everyone in the entire guild completely lose their minds with shock. Nobody really knows what happened to him at the very end. After that, things just blur out. Suddenly, all these details start running through Jae-hyuk's head like someone's telling him the story straight up, but it's all fuzzy. He can't catch everything. Right then, something weird goes down. Out of nowhere, a super bright light blasts right in front of his eyes. Out of nowhere, Jae-hyuk starts dropping fast, like gravity just hit a switch. Right in front of him, John Cossack just takes off, moving crazy fast. Cossack doesn't even slow down. He blows right past Jae-hyuk like he's not even there. He held onto the knife, and Jae-hyuk just stared, frozen, not sure what to do next. Right then, he grabbed that little knife. Cossack steps up and just takes out 3 guys in front of him, cutting their heads clean off like it's nothing. Watching this go down, Jae-hyuk suddenly gets it. He's looking straight at something from Cossack's past. Jae-hyuk keeps his eyes fixed on what's happening, not missing a single detail. Cossack starts setting up the severed heads, making sure they're all in a straight line, then coolly ties ribbons around each one like it's nothing. Jae-hyuk just stands there, completely frozen, finally getting why Cossack's info sheet called him insane. Cossack glances over, his eyes locking onto something off to the side. A palace window showed up in the distance. Everyone finds out that Cossack got taken out because he messed up just once. The guy he was supposed to take out? Literally the Empire's top swordmaster. Cossack steps up to a guy who's knocked out cold. He pulls out his knife, getting set to do something serious. He gets stopped right before he can make a move. The swordmaster doesn't waste a second, he's in, and Cossack's done, sliced clean in half before he even knows what hit him. That's the last thing Cossack ever experiences. The story jumps back to what's happening now. After Jae-hyuk sees that memory, Cossack just shows up behind him, catching him off guard and wanting to know what's on his mind. Out of nowhere, Jae-hyuk hears someone behind him and totally flinches. He jolts back, smacking right into his table. Cossack sees what happened and quickly says sorry, letting Jae-hyuk know he never meant to freak him out. He was just checking if there was anything Jae-hyuk needed him to do. Jae-hyuk takes a deep breath, steadying himself. He remembers how the rules said the person who gets summoned has to totally follow whatever the summoner tells them to do. He exhales slowly, trying to chill out. Jae-hyuk told Cossack to clean up the spot where the ramen was made, and Cossack jumped right in, getting to work without complaining. After that, Jae-hyuk pointed out the table needed cleaning too, and Cossack was cool with it, wiping it down like it was nothing. Watching how quickly he gets things done, Jae-hyuk can't help but be surprised. He notices Cossack never grumbles or pushes back, no matter what job he throws at him. After seeing this, Jae-hyuk's sure that Cossack will actually do anything he asks. Jae-hyuk shouted for Cossack, and Cossack was on it right away, ready for orders. Jae-hyuk wanted to know if Cossack really believed he had to follow every single order, even the ones that made 0 sense. Cossack just lets everyone know he's always down to do whatever his summoner tells him, no questions asked, no matter what it is. Jae-hyuk heard what was said and told Cossack to act like a dog and start barking. As soon as the command drops, Cossack just goes completely quiet. He just drops everything and stands still, not moving an inch. Jae-hyuk catches this and starts to wonder if maybe he pushed it too hard. He remembers that Cossack used to be a total beast back in the day, so there's probably a ton of pride there. Now Jae-hyuk's got this thought in the back of his mind. What if Cossack just loses it out of nowhere? Jae-hyuk barely has time to think when Cossack just goes off, barking and zipping around like this goofy puppy. Jae-hyuk watches what just happened, kind of surprised, but he just nods and throws a thumbs up. In his head he's thinking, yeah, that's some next-level loyalty right there. Right then, Jae-hyuk hears someone knocking on his door. There's a voice outside telling him to open up. Jae-hyuk just realized he totally spaced on paying his interest lately. The memory hit him out of nowhere, and now he's starting to get nervous. He tells Cossack to get off the floor, and Cossack gets up right away. Turns out, Jae-hyuk needed 10 million, but every bank shut him down for a loan. With no other options, he ended up going to a loan shark. He needed cash fast because his dad wiped out on some ice, messed up his hip, and landed in the hospital. Now hospital bills are stacking up, and on top of all that, he's got to handle his little brother's college costs too. After all that, he was stuck and had to take the loan. At first, Jae-hyuk thought paying it back would be a breeze, but it ended up being way tougher than he thought. The craziest part, he's already dropped over 5 million just on interest. Realizing that hit him hard. Now, all he wants is to clear his debt fast and finally chill without all the stress. Outside, the guy keeps banging on the door saying he just wants a quick look at Jae-hyuk to check if he's handling his cash right. As soon as Jae-hyuk hears that, he glances over at Cossack. Right then, Cossack grabs his sword, ready to go. He's just waiting for a word from his boss one command, and he's on it. He's so loyal, he's got no problem taking someone out for his master. Jae-hyuk sees what's about to happen and instantly freaks out, shaking his head, hoping to stop Cossack before things get out of hand. In his head, Jae-hyuk knows Cossack is about to mess everything up big time. Jae-hyuk quickly shoves Cossack into the bathroom, making it clear he needs to stay hidden. He tells Cossack not to move, not to say anything, and not to even make a sound. Cossack wonders if he's even allowed to breathe, but Jae-hyuk gives him the okay. That actually calms Cossack down a bit. The next scene shows the guy walking into the room. He goes straight over and puts his hand on Jae-hyuk's shoulder. He notices Bong Jae-hyuk actually looks pretty healthy today, more than he thought he would. He remembers getting a bit anxious when the interest payment didn't come in, thinking maybe Jae-hyuk was sick or something went down. Jae-hyuk, sounding a little shaky, owns up and says he just forgot. He apologizes and promises he'll send the payment soon. The loan shark locked eyes on Jae-hyuk, giving him a look that would make anyone uneasy. He tossed out a wild idea. If paying back the loan was such a struggle, maybe Jae-hyuk should just sell an organ. Apparently, giving up a kidney would make things way easier for Jae-hyuk, at least in the shark's mind. Right then, the view cuts to outside the room. 2 of the loan shark's guys are just hanging out there. One brings up that Jae-hyuk's got a little brother too. The loan shark boss hears it and just points out that when something's rare, it's worth way more. Hearing people talk like that about his brother, Jae-hyuk's anger just spikes. He shoots a deadly look at the loan shark boss, barely holding himself back. The loan shark boss spots the way Jae-hyuk is staring at him and can't help but wonder what's up with that look. To the boss, Jae-hyuk seems like he's ready to throw hands at any second. Jae-hyuk snaps back to reality and reminds himself there's no way he'd ever pull something like that. After hearing what the loan shark said, he heads out, making sure Jae-hyuk knows to stay safe, mostly because he wants his money back, not because he actually cares. Once they're gone, Jae-hyuk finally feels like he can breathe again. Jae-hyuk called for Cossack, and Cossack stepped right out of the bathroom like he was ready for anything. Jae-hyuk gave him props for hiding so well, and Cossack couldn't help but smile. He was actually proud of nailing what Jae-hyuk told him to do. Jae-hyuk runs through the whole day in his head and just feels wiped out. The double shifts at his job, getting hit with that wild awakening, summoning a human plus the lone shark showing up like he needed extra problems. Even with all that, his mind keeps circling back to the dead. He starts thinking about climbing the tower, but right away self-doubt kicks in. He doesn't see himself as the brave type, so the idea of making it to the top seems impossible. Still, he can't ignore the fact that he really needs cash. Cossack checked in to see if Jae-hyuk needed anything else, but Jae-hyuk just shook his head. He didn't have anything for him to do right now. When Cossack hears that, he just asks if he can chill and watch TV until his master needs him for something else. Jae-hyuk didn't see it coming when Cossack started talking about television. He honestly had no clue Cossack even knew what that was. Still, Jae-hyuk just let it slide and handed over the remote. Cossack was pretty grateful and mentioned he was trying to catch up on a drama series. Cossack chills on the couch, eyes glued to the TV. Meanwhile, Jae-hyuk shuts off the lights and crashes for the night. Cossack was totally into the drama playing on TV, just chilling. Ju-yuk watched him and thought to himself, no way a guy as scared as him would ever make it climbing the tower. Right then, something about the moment just felt kinda chill. He keeps thinking about how he's just been going through life by himself, barely moving forward, almost like he's slowly walking straight into his own end. Even though Cossack is around, he actually starts to feel a lot better. Cossack's just chilling, totally locked in on the TV, not paying attention to anything else. It's the next morning, and Ju-yuk's alarm goes off right at 8. He reaches over and shuts it off, still half asleep. He shouts for Cossack, but gets nothing back. It starts to hit him. Maybe the summon's already gone. Jae-hyuk suddenly remembered something from last night. While he was half awake, he noticed the system window pop up, showing that John Cossack had been released. He thought back to Cossack's info. There was a 6-hour time limit. After that, Cossack couldn't stick around any longer. Jae-hyuk gets up and tries to shake off everything on his mind, thinking he should just focus on heading to work. As he moves around, he sees the TV still blasting. Probably Cossack dipped out and forgot to turn it off. The news is running in the background. Early that morning in Jangno-gu, Seoul, at the Shady Smile Cash office, someone got murdered in a brutal way. Jae-hyuk just stops brushing his teeth as soon as he hears it, like he's completely locked in place. He suddenly notices the news is all about the loan shark he borrowed from. The report goes on, saying they found 3 people, all without their heads. What really throws everyone off is that the heads turned up later, wrapped in red ribbons. When Jae-hyuk hears about the heads and those ribbons, he's honestly horrified. He suddenly realizes this is the same thing John Cossack always did back in his old life. Jae-hyuk totally freaks out. All he ever wanted was an easy, chill life. But now that he's accidentally brought in a full-on psycho killer, he's just sitting there, wishing he could take it all back. The story jumps right back to the spot where everything went down. Someone had trashed the loan shark's office, like the whole place was wrecked. The loan shark didn't make it out alive, and neither did any of his guys. They all got taken out. All their heads were set out in a row on the table, each one with a ribbon wrapped around it. The way it was done, super brutal and clean, looked just like Cossack's usual work. The news kept popping up on Jae-hyuk's phone. He couldn't stop scrolling through the headlines, getting more restless each time. In his head, he was pretty much sure there was no way anyone but Cossack could have done this. Later on, Jae-hyuk showed up at the department store for his shift. While he was getting through his usual tasks, someone walked up out of nowhere and got his attention. Jae-hyuk instantly looked up, wondering what was about to go down. He stopped dead, totally locked in by what he saw. Right in front of him stood the loan shark, holding his own head, all tied up with a ribbon like some weird present. The head just sat there in front of Ju-hyuk, almost like someone was trying to sell it to him. Right then, Ju-hyuk froze up. Fear just took over, and he couldn't move or think straight. He started seeing things that weren't really there. All over the shelves behind the counter, he pictured the heads of the loan sharks guys, lined up like stuff for sale, each one done up with ribbons. In his mind, those heads wouldn't stop calling out to him, pushing him to hurry up and scan them through like he was working checkout. Jae-hyuk totally lost it. He freaked out, tripped back, and slammed right into a shelf. The hit jolted him awake, and when he looked up, there was just a regular girl waiting in front of him. She seemed a little worried and checked if he was all right. That's when Jae-hyuk realized he'd just been tripping. None of it was real. Embarrassment hit him hard. He turned red and kept saying sorry to her, feeling super awkward. Jae-hyuk headed home after a long day at work, his brain running wild with stress. He started to notice that with how he was feeling, things just weren't adding up for him right now. He couldn't really get it together at work, no matter what job he tried. So, he just made up his mind to quit all his part-time gigs starting tomorrow. Outside, the snow was coming down hard, and the cold was really setting in. Jae-hyuk headed down the street toward his place, his mind stuck on replay. He kept beating himself up, thinking everyone was gone just because of what he did. Not long after, the story cut to Jae-hyuk chilling at home. He pulled up the system window again and checked out Cossack's profile, scrolling through all the info laid out. Jae-hyuk was now sure Cossack was straight up a madman. Even if Cossack would never actually go after his own summoner, just being around him was seriously scary. Jae-hyuk reached out to the system window and tried to call him up. Right then, a message popped up on the screen and Jae-hyuk just froze. Before anything else could happen, the system popped up and asked him to rate how satisfied he was. The screen told him to swipe and pick a star rating with his finger. Jae-hyuk just stared at the rating screen, not believing what he was seeing. He was so annoyed he just flipped off the notification. He started replaying what happened earlier. He just told Cossack to chill at home and watch some TV. But Cossack went out anyway and started taking people out on his own, no orders or anything. After seeing all the mess Cossack caused for some regular guy, Jae-hyuk figured the only rating he deserved was 1 star. Jae-hyuk paused, just sitting there without saying anything. It hit him that he couldn't go all out and ruin someone's life like that. He just wasn't built for it. He thought about it for a second, then just hit Cossack with a 3-star rating instead. The system locked in the rating. Once he sent it in, Jae-hyuk thought back to his mom's old job going around to check on water purifiers for people. He'd seen how rough it was whenever she got a bad rating, and it always stuck with him. Even if Cossack messed up, Jaehyuk couldn't just drop a one-star review and wreck the guy's day. While he was still lost in thought, Cossack showed up right in front of him. Cossack came through with a big smile, gave a sharp salute, and seemed honestly glad to see Jaehyuk again. After checking out the rating, Cossack nodded and said thanks, telling him he'd put in more effort next time. Jaehyuk glanced at Cossack's harmless face and started questioning everything. He couldn't wrap his head around how this guy, smiling like nothing's up, could have taken out 3 people in one night. Jaehyuk was still trying to figure things out, so he went straight to Cossack for answers. He needed to know if Cossack was the one who took out the people that showed up at his place last night. Cossack kept it real and just said he was the one who sent them straight to the gates of hell. Jaehyuk heard that and couldn't believe it for a second. His mind just went blank. Any questions he had before were gone, just like that. He looked straight at Cossack, locking eyes and trying to process what was really going on. The guy in front of him wasn't just anybody, he was a killer, and that thought hit hard. His stomach twisted up, and his heart started beating way faster, almost like it was about to jump out of his chest. Jaehyuk kept telling himself he was safe because he was the summoner, so Cossack couldn't mess with him. Even though he was still nervous, he tried to chill out. Then he started wondering how Cossack even found the loan shark's office, since there was no way Cossack should have known where it was. Cossack told them he'd already tagged those people with a special mark when they showed up at Jaehyuk's place. It worked sort of like a tracker, so now he could find them without any hassle. Jaehyuk just froze when he found out. It blew his mind that Cossack pulled off all that crazy stuff and managed to stay hidden in the bathroom the whole time. Jaehyuk wanted to know why Cossack took things that far. Cossack told him they were seen as threats, so handling it early seemed smart, but Jaehyuk made it clear he never told Cossack to take them out. Cossack brought up the summon's 3 laws, especially Article 3. Jaehyuk just froze. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Cossack ran through the rules with him again. The top rule, keep the summoner safe no matter what. Next up, always listen to whatever the summoner says. But if those two ever clash, protecting the summoner comes first, no questions asked. Cossack broke it down real simple. Follow orders no matter what, but if something's about to put the summoner in danger, you can't just sit back. He brought up a situation where a summoner tries to make their own summon take them out, but that order just wouldn't work. Jaehyuk kinda nodded, not really sure what to say, and his face looked pretty weird about it. He started to wonder if there was ever any real danger in the first place, and pointed out that the rules seemed kind of random. Cossack agreed that Article 3 could mean a lot of different things depending on how you looked at it. To him, those people were just problems waiting to happen, and sooner or later they'd end up putting Jaehyuk in danger. He thought he was making sense, but when Jaehyuk heard him, it freaked Jaehyuk out even more. Jaehyuk started thinking Cossack was actually insane. He said sorry right away, but Cossack cut him off. Cossack just shrugged it off, used to hearing stuff like that, and wouldn't take an apology from his master anyway. Jaehyuk sat there, lost in thought. He got the point, but it hit him how risky that kind of thinking could actually get. He pictured himself running into some sketchy-looking guy outside by accident. Most of the time, guys like that just talk tough but don't actually mean it. From where the Cossacks stood, even those kinds of threats could end with someone losing their head, all tied up with fancy ribbons. That idea hit Jaehyuk hard, and he started freaking out all over again. Watching him lose it like that, Cossack got thrown off and started thinking he messed something up. He dropped to his knees in front of Jaehyuk to say sorry. Jaehyuk just told him to get up. Then Jaehyuk broke it down, saying that killing someone wasn't about helping him, and doing that could seriously mess things up for both of them. Cossack was on edge, trying to say nobody would ever find out what happened. Jaehyuk wanted to know if Cossack would actually stop pulling this kind of move, but Cossack couldn't really promise that, and that just made Jaehyuk even more uneasy. Jaehyuk needed some kind of promise, so he laid it out. Cossack wasn't allowed to draw his weapon unless things got way too real, like someone actually putting a knife to Jaehyuk's throat. Cossack realized he had to be smarter about spotting danger before jumping in. He gave a sharp salute, totally locked in, and made up his mind to think things through next time. Jaehyuk noticed how hyped everyone was getting, and that honestly took some weight off his shoulders. After that, he told Cossack to head back for the time being. Cossack didn't leave with everyone else, he hung back, clearly wanting to say something. Jaehyuk could tell the guy had something on his mind, so he let him speak up. Cossack suddenly brought up climbing the tower, and Jaehyuk just froze for a second. That question totally caught him off guard. He realized that climbing the tower didn't happen for just anyone, but he also understood it came with some serious risks. Jaehyuk wanted to know if Cossack had worked with a different summoner before. Dak backed it up, saying the last summoner was tough and never backed down. Jaehyuk couldn't help but feel pretty embarrassed about himself. While everyone else was out there using their powers to do big things, he just chilled and kept his head down, dodging trouble whenever he could. Cossack was about to keep going when Jaehyuk just kind of shut down and admitted he was too scared to do anything. Out of nowhere, the Cossacks got hyped and started calling Jaehyuk the top summoner. Jaehyuk honestly couldn't believe how they reacted. Cossack clapped his hand on Jahyuk's shoulder, totally hyped up, and started going on about how staying safe was the most important thing for summoners. Jahyuk just nodded, a bit anxious, but not wanting to disagree. Cossack said straight up that being brave was basically asking for trouble. He thought a summoner who acted tough could actually mess things up, because if that guy went down, his summon was done too, no chance of coming back. Cossack basically told Jahyuk to chill and said he'd take care of everything messy. He wanted Jahyuk to just keep his head down and not do anything risky. Hearing that totally threw Jahyuk off. It hit him that no one had ever put that kind of trust in him before. Jahyuk rolled out of bed in the morning looking totally wiped. He barely got any sleep last night. His mind just wouldn't chill after everything Cossack said and all that weird stuff in the tower. He wondered if tower climbing was even his thing, but honestly, he was just glad the loan sharks were out of his life and his debt was finally wiped out. He walked outside, took a deep breath of the cool morning air, and finally felt like he could get stuff done without anyone stressing him out. Out of nowhere, his phone started buzzing. His dad was calling. People started questioning if Jahyuk was actually putting in the work for his rehab. Not long after, he got some tough news. His dad had to move to a bigger hospital. He found out his mom just lost her job. Jahyuk couldn't believe it. It hit him out of nowhere. He remembered his dad calming him down, saying there was no reason to stress. Turns out they just reached out since it'd been a while since they last talked. When the call dropped, Jahyuk just sat there, frozen. He couldn't shake off how bad he felt for his mom, thinking about how much she always pushes herself. He knew this would hit her hard. Jahyuk geared up with all his safety stuff, making sure he was ready before heading up the tower. He wasn't working any of his usual part-time gigs that day, so he actually had some time to chill. He tried to calm himself down, telling himself he'd just take a quick look around the first floor and dip if anything seemed sketchy. He thought about bringing in another person, but wasn't sure if that could even work. For a second, he pictured what it'd be like to try and call someone new. He just pulled a legendary super rare rank. Right then, the system hit him with a message saying he couldn't use random summon for almost a whole month. Cossack showed up out of nowhere before he even had a chance to process what was happening. Cossack seemed hyped, dropping a big thank you for that 5-star loyalty rating, then waited for instructions. Jahyuk really hoped Cossack hadn't caught on that he just tried to summon again. He played it cool and greeted Cossack like nothing weird happened. Jahyuk let everyone know he was planning to climb the tower. Cossack couldn't believe it. One second he was hyping Jahyuk up for being bold. The next he was kinda unsure about the whole thing. Jahyuk just said he wanted to give it a shot whenever he had some downtime. Cossack just rolled with it and tossed out Jahyuk's tools, basically saying he'd be Jahyuk's tool from now on. Inside the tower, he told himself he'd have Jahyuk's back no matter what. After thinking it over, Jahyuk decided to trust him. The system popped up, asking if they wanted to go into the Korea Black Tower, and showed that the first floor was open. Once he got the green light, the system let everyone know he was in. Right away, Jahyuk and Cossack dropped straight toward the giant tower. Cossack grabbed onto Jahyuk, totally hyped, but Jahyuk just lost it, freaking out the whole way down. Moving through the huge, trippy tunnel, Jahyuk started to go downhill fast. He never dropped from a height like this before, so his body was just not ready for it. He started to feel weak, and everything around him got kind of blurry. Cossack stayed locked in, never letting go of Jahyuk's collar even for a second. He kept his grip solid, making sure Jahyuk was safe and didn't disappear while they dropped lower. As they kept heading down, they finally made it deep inside the Black Tower, reaching one of those hidden spots you can't just stumble into. This was the real core of the place. Jahyuk glanced around and just froze. The whole first floor was wiped out completely empty, like no one had ever lived there. His stomach instantly started twisting up and he just couldn't handle it. Jahyuk sat on the ground, throwing up. His body just couldn't handle dropping from that high up. Cossack saw him struggling and tried to reassure him, saying he'd get used to it soon, and that the throwing up would stop after a while. Once Jahyuk was done throwing up and started to feel a bit more normal, Cossack pushed ahead. He motioned for Jahyuk to come with him past the safe area. Jahyuk took a second to pull himself together, then trailed behind Cossack, still a bit shaky but moving. Jahyuk kept moving forward when the system pop-up showed up in front of him. The notifications let him know his strength got a boost with his new level. They also said he could start using new traits and fighting skills now. Once Jahyuk figured out what the message meant, he noticed something was off in a good way. He was still stuck at level 1, but his body just felt stronger, like he'd powered up out of nowhere. Right then, a mission alert popped up on his screen, laying out what he had to do on the first floor. He had to take down 5 thick-skinned fatty grubs, and he only had 2 hours to get it done. The tracker showed he was still at 0. None of the grubs were down yet. If he failed, it was game over or he'd have to give up. The second the mission popped up, Cossack instantly locked eyes on the monsters he needed to take down. Jahyuk had already looked this stuff up before, so he knew what was coming. He remembered that the first floor was just there to check if people had the basics down. The thick-skinned, chunky grub was basically just a punching bag, barely did any damage at all. This thing's skin was basically armor, so taking it down fast was almost impossible. Word online was that some players needed half an hour just to beat a single one. Jae-hyuk kept in mind that he was part of the game too now. He realized he had to take down at least one monster, so he got locked in and started heading their way. When Cossack saw Jae-hyuk making moves, he started to get nervous, wondering if Jae-hyuk was doing too much for no reason. Jae-hyuk brushed off the worry and just kept moving. He stood right up in front of the monster, not backing down. Jae-hyuk grabbed a weapon from Cossack and paused for a second, trying to figure out what to do next. He glanced over at Cossack, just for a moment, before getting his head back in the game. Right then, the monster picked up on someone nearby. The thing shot up from the ground, ready to go after Jae-hyuk. That wild noise it made really got to him. He wasn't expecting anything like that. He looked pretty scared. He turned around, moving slow. Fear just took over. He grabbed his phone fast and called in Cossack. As soon as Cossack got the message, he didn't waste a second. He was already moving. He took off fast, sprinting straight at the monster before it even had a chance to make a move. Cossack took him out with just one hit. There were still a bunch of monsters hanging around. Cossack told Jae-hyuk to chill for a sec, then he just sprinted ahead and took out the rest of the monsters, moving fast and nailing every hit. Cossack had a bunch of blades going at once, swinging them in both hands like he was built for it. He fired everything he had at the monsters all at once. Every blade landed right where it needed to, each one hitting a separate target. After that, Cossack didn't move, he just stayed put and turned on his skill. Right then, every blade just burst inside the monsters, wiping them out instantly. Not a single one was left standing. Cossack headed back to Jae-hyuk, looking like an absolute legend. Explosions were going off behind him, and Jae-hyuk just stood there, completely frozen. Seeing those insane moves up close for the first time, he legit couldn't wrap his head around how good Cossack actually was. Not long after, a reward popped up on Jae-hyuk's screen. The system said he'd cleared the first floor, so he instantly leveled up. He scored 100 grams of magic stone, and the system flexed his S++ rank for beating the first floor of the Korea Black Tower. To top it off, he unlocked a platinum badge as a bonus. Jae-hyuk was on cloud 9, almost like he was weightless. Stuff just seemed to fall into place for him, and it honestly blew his mind how simple things turned out. It hit him that he was heading straight for some serious cash. But right then, something happened behind the scenes that Jae-hyuk had no clue about yet. All around South Korea, every player suddenly saw the same system pop up at the exact same time. Even a regular guy working in his office had the window pop up right in front of him. A new one showed up right in front of a woman who was working out at the gym. Somewhere else, a young guy suddenly noticed another one show up right in front of him. All over the country, new system screens started popping up. It was obvious that Jae-hyuk wasn't going to be the only one in the game for long. He was about to deal with a whole crowd of rivals. Not long after, Jae-hyuk got another notification. The system told him he could go for the second floor now and that he was leaving the Korea Black Tower. Just like that, he and Cossack were back in his room. It clicked for Jae-hyuk that whenever someone clears a floor, they get sent straight back to where they started. He pulled out his phone and saw that it had only been 5 minutes since he walked into the tower. Out of nowhere, his stomach started turning again. Cossack looked proud and gave Jae-hyuk props for how things went down. But Jae-hyuk just shrugged it off, saying he literally just stood around and didn't really do anything. Cossack gave props for the choice, saying it was the right move. Jae-hyuk felt a bit uncomfortable but went along with it. He remembered hearing how other players almost wiped themselves out just getting through the first floor, taking forever to defeat those annoying grubs. For him, though, getting past it was way easier than he expected. He took a closer look at what he'd just won. He grabbed the magic stone and checked it out, turning it over in his hand and trying to figure out what was up with it. Magic stones basically powered up a ton of stuff in the modern world, but they used to be super expensive back when the towers first showed up. Now, though, the price had dropped a lot, and you could grab 100 grams for around 50,000 won. It's been 20 years since those black towers showed up all over the world, so by now, pretty much everyone knows the basics about them. Jae-hyuk checked out the platinum badge, realizing he'd never even seen or heard about one like it before. Jae-hyuk made up his mind to sell the magic stone and get his hands on 50,000 won. It wasn't even going to take him 5 minutes. While Jae-hyuk headed out, Cossack grabbed the remote, turned on the TV, and chilled out with his favorite drama. The next scene showed the two of them grabbing some food together. Jae-hyuk actually brought real food this time, which hadn't happened in forever. Cossack caught the scent of food in the air. He guessed it was probably spicy pig's trotters, but Jae-hyuk quickly shut that down since he knew Cossack wasn't about spicy food. Still, Cossack could taste the heat, and that's when Jae-hyuk figured out Cossack really couldn't handle spicy stuff at all. As soon as Cossack found out the food wasn't spicy, he got hyped. He made it clear he was ready to eat as much as he wanted and showed some respect to Jae-hyuk for hooking him up with the meal. Jae-hyuk didn't see that coming from Cossack. He started to wonder why Cossack talked the way he did. Cossack looked thrown off, not really sure what Jae-hyuk was getting at. Jae-hyuk pointed out that Cossack was making his sentences shorter, but still trying to sound all proper. Cossack said he picked up that habit from hanging out with his old summoner for a long time. Jahyuk thought it was kind of like when someone still acts a certain way because of their ex. Cossack noticed Jahyuk's reaction and said he could switch it up if Jahyuk wasn't cool with how he talked. But Jahyuk just shrugged it off, actually thinking it was kind of funny. Cossack started cracking up and Jahyuk couldn't help but laugh too. Right then, Jahyuk realized Cossack wasn't as wild as he thought before. He just had to stay sharp and keep things under control. He felt ready, so he figured it was time to head back into the tower. When the sun came up the next day, Jahyuk sat down and started putting together a daily routine chart all about that alpha mindset. He figured he'd handle shifts at the convenience store during the day, then head over to the charcoal grill joint at night. He was done with the day labor gig, didn't need it anymore. Now he'd be working alongside Cossack, clearing towers. Honestly, this setup was just right for him. Cossack popped up again right then. He honestly couldn't believe Jahyuk dropped another 5-star rating for him. Jahyuk let him know that if he could have given out 10 stars, he totally would have. Seeing that, Cossack was hyped. He was really proud to make his summoner happy. Jahyuk started thinking if those satisfaction ratings even mattered that much. Cossack laid it out straight. Higher ratings meant better perks. Every rating Cossack got changed how strong he'd be next time he showed up. Stuff like how long he could stick around, how strong his rank got, and how often he could be summoned. Everything just leveled up. Next up, the two of them headed onto the second floor of the Black Tower. The system popped up with the new mission for the second floor. Take down 10 of these fast, chunky grubs in under 2 hours. The second those grubs spotted humans, they didn't even hesitate. They all swarmed in at once, ready to go. Jahyuk realized the grubs on the second floor were just straight up annoying. They kept darting around, making it hard to keep track. He just wanted to know what he was supposed to do next. Cossack just told Jahyuk he didn't have to do anything. He let everyone know the mission would be done quick. Grinning, he held up 3 fingers to show it'd only take 3 minutes. Cossack sprinted after the grubs, moving fast and letting Jahyuk know they'd all be back home soon. Jahyuk yelled out that they'd grab chicken later. Cossack smiled at him, nodding in appreciation. Cossack sent his blades flying again, pulling off that same explosive move he used earlier. Jahyuk sat back and watched the fight, totally into it. When it ended, a reward notification popped up on his screen. He'd just cleared the second floor mission with an S++ rank, which is pretty wild. Leveling up again, he bagged 200 grams of magic stone and picked up another platinum badge for his collection. Jahyuk noticed everything was just way easier now. Cossack moved way faster than he thought, and suddenly, clearing floors before work wasn't even a big deal. He could get it all done and still show up at his job like nothing happened. They headed up to the third floor next. Cossack noticed Jahyuk's landing was way smoother this time, like he'd actually been practicing. The third floor challenge popped up, and this time it was all about these ice cold fatty grubs. Cossack didn't waste any time. He took them out fast, no sweat. The system dropped another S++ clear, handed out a level up, tossed in 300 grams of magic stone, and added another platinum badge to the list. Not long after, they breezed through the fourth floor, no sweat. The fifth floor was just as chill, nothing really got in their way. Jahyuk was hyped and dapped up Cossack, both of them grinning after crushing it. A new notification popped up on Jahyuk's screen. The system let him know he'd snagged 5 S++ platinum badges, and that came with a special perk. Seeing those words, special perk, Jahyuk froze for a second, totally caught off guard. The perk turned out to be Awakening Trait Enhancement. Thanks to that, he could now summon 2 at once instead of just 1. The next scene pulls up a system screen showing everything about Jahyuk. His name pops up, Bong Jahyuk. He's with the Black Tower crew in Korea, and his level's at 6. His special thing is summoning, and right now he can bring out 2 summons at the same time. His catalog? Still empty. For traits, he's got Designated Summon, Random Summon, and Summon Release, while his basic skills include Tower Entry, which he can use once every day, and a tower-only inventory. Combat skills? None for now. As soon as Jahyuk spots the words about 2 simultaneous summons, he just freezes. He realizes he can bring in someone new way earlier than he thought. He doesn't even have to wait a whole month. Now there's a real chance another person could show up beside him, changing everything. Cossack's been carrying the whole thing by himself up to this point. Jahyuk starts to see just how wild that S++ clear reward really is. It's not just something that gives you a quick boost, it's on a whole different level long term. This move could seriously change how fights go for a while. The best part? Jahyuk's way safer now. After that, he takes a quick look at the random summon cooldown. He checks the timer and sees there's still over 20 days left. He knows he's got to take it slow and just chill for now. Jahyuk figures he'll just chill and wait out the full 20 days. His summoned crew keeps grinding through the floors for him, so he's basically getting free rides through the portals. While he's thinking about all this, he suddenly remembers the 6th floor is up next and it's time to get moving again. Now the story shifts over to Hanamdong, Seoul, South Korea. Inside the Awakener Management Administration building, a few important people show up for the first time. Jin Gwang-gil runs the show at the Awakener Management Administration. Whenever someone clears a floor, the office gets hit with an announcement. Gwang-gil always sits there looking serious, stuck in his thoughts. He keeps guessing when the next alert will drop. Maybe it'll be early, maybe late, maybe right in the middle of the night. Right then, someone else showed up. Lee Minna, who's the deputy director at the Awakener Management Administration, walked over. She totally broke his train of thought, basically checking if that announcement was still on his mind. Gwang-gil gets annoyed by the way she's acting. He can't help but get a little loud, telling her to stop trying to read people's minds. Mina just shrugs it off, saying she seriously can't help being so curious. Gwang-gil suddenly gets serious and checks if there's any new announcement. Mina nods and lets him know there is. Turns out, the Black Tower in Korea just cleared the 6th floor with an S++ rank. When Gwang-gil hears the news, it hits him hard. He starts thinking about how the Black Tower has been spamming global announcements non-stop. Each time, it's always about someone crushing an S++ rank. He's totally sure now, it's just one person behind all this. The first 5 floors got cleared one after another, no messing around. Whoever did this is on another level, like seriously talented. Now he can't help but think about what's gonna go down if this person keeps going and knocks out floors 7 through 10 too. Out of nowhere, someone smacks their hand down hard on the table. That hand belongs to Park Jiang-soo, the guy running the whole Awakener Management Administration. He's the boss, and when he talks, everyone just listens. He lets everyone know that in Korea, nobody's ever gone past an A rank. Anything higher, no one even knows what that looks like yet. Nobody realized that getting an S++ clear would set off a worldwide alert. With how things are right now, players switching countries is pretty normal. There's also some shady stuff going on, like people getting taken without anyone knowing. He knows they need to track this player down fast before some other country snags him. He tells everyone to keep a close eye on every new player who signs up. 2 days later, things pick back up at Ju Hyuk's place. The group starts talking about taking on the 8th floor next. Cossack's over by the sink, looking pretty chill as he washes dishes, humming like he's actually enjoying it. He's got this vibe that everything's under control, and he lets Ju Hyuk know he's not worried at all. They've been cruising through 1 floor every day, no sweat. For Ju Hyuk, everything's just been smooth sailing all the way to the 10th floor. They head into the forest on the 8th floor, with Cossack leading the way and Jo Hyuk trailing after him. A new mission pops up on the 8th floor, take down 10 Red Thorn Frog Warriors. The second it starts, every single Frog Warrior jumps in and goes straight for him. Cossack grabs his dagger. He takes them out one after another, barely breaking a sweat. Right after, a reward pops up on his screen. The 8th floor was finally cleared, and Ju Hyuk leveled up on the spot. He scored 800 grams of magic stones and picked up 5 special healing potions you can only get in the tower. The system dropped a big announcement. He just nailed an S++ rank on the Black Tower's 8th floor. To top it off, he bagged another platinum badge for his collection. The two of them head back home. Cossack's in a good mood and lets Ju Hyuk know he did solid work. Ju Hyuk, though, isn't used to all the portal jumping and starts getting a headache. Cossack tells him that actually getting onto the floor is the real challenge. Ju Hyuk really appreciates everything Cossack's done, realizing stuff has only gone smooth because Cossack's had his back. But Cossack tells him not to get too comfortable since things are about to get way tougher after the 10th floor. After hearing that, Ju Hyuk starts thinking he should do something nice for Cossack to show he's grateful for all the help. He grabs some cash from his bag and passes it over. He wants Cossack to head out, grab some good food, enjoy himself for a bit, and make sure he comes back before his time's up, as long as he doesn't start anything. Cossack just turns down the cash, leaving Ju Hyuk totally thrown off. Ju Hyuk had to hype himself up big time just to offer, so seeing Cossack brush it off that fast really messes with him. Cossack lets him know he can't just go places by himself. He needs his summoners okay. He's basically stuck at home, chilling and watching TV, and honestly, that's what makes him happiest anyway. When Ju Hyuk hears that, he starts thinking to himself about whether he always has to follow orders, even for random stuff like this. Since Cossack doesn't want to head out, Ju Hyuk just goes ahead and orders some chicken. Cossack is totally down for it. Cossack was chilling on the couch, glued to the TV, and told Ju Hyuk to grab some food. He made it clear, no spicy stuff. He was craving something sweet like honey cheese or buttery snacks, just anything that wouldn't set his mouth on fire. Ju Hyuk finishes up his order and then looks at the rewards he got. He spots a healing potion that's only for use in the tower and figures he'll hold on to it for Cossack later. He checks out the magic stones in his hand, thinking about his next move. He's got 3.6 kilograms now, worth about 1.8 million won. On day 10, it's finally time for them to take on the 10th floor. Ju Hyuk can't help but get caught up in his thoughts, hoping he'll be done with all these part-time gigs someday. He never meant to get this deep, he just wanted to check out the first floor, but now he's been grinding through a new floor every day. He remembers how the ninth floor with that wild corpse flower boss was a breeze. Now, whenever he goes into missions, he just knows he'll clear them. Easy. Those S++ rewards are starting to feel like extra perks at this point. Everything just feels way better, but honestly, the best part is how safe and steady things feel now. Juyak locks eyes with Cossack and raises his glass, straight up vibing with Cossack's squinty look. For a second, he's just chilling, not even thinking about how Cossack's actually a wild assassin who's already taken out 3 people. Juyak calls up Cossack again, and right away a system message pops up saying John Cossack's satisfaction score just hit 5. Because he keeps getting these top ratings, Cossack gets to stick around for an extra hour. Juyak gets hyped, realizing giving that perfect score actually paid off. Cossack lights up, throwing out a heart pose that looks straight out of a K-pop concert. He's seriously hyped, grateful to Juyak for leveling up his skills during the raid. Juyak lets him know he's pumped to keep teaming up. Cossack, not missing a beat, tells Juyak he's got it all covered. They pop up on the 10th floor, and suddenly a bunch of system alerts start spamming their view. They just stepped into the Black Tower of Korea, right on floor 10. Now, their physical stats are switched up to fit their current level, and both trading and fighting skills just unlocked, ready to go. As soon as Ju Hayuk stepped onto the 10th floor, the whole vibe hit him hard. The energy up there was just on a different level. Out of nowhere, his stomach tightens, and he just stops moving. Inside the tower, something shifts, almost like it's tweaking itself. Then, out of the blue, he gets hit with this crazy strength, and there's some weird mana buzzing low in his body. A few seconds later, Ju-hyuk suddenly turns into a horse. He just stands there, stunned, not believing what just happened. He says he's got Cossack's back this round, ready to jump in, but Cossack shuts it down right away, not letting him join. He says if Summoner Bong gets even a tiny scratch, he'd straight up lose it, like he'd just end it for himself right there. Jaehyuk just laughs it off, saying he's basically a wild horse now. Nobody's holding him back. Cossack stays chill, letting them know that just having Jaehyuk hype him up means everything. Jaehyuk steps up again, determined to go all out and fight by his side for real this time. Right then, he spots this huge bug staring straight at him. His heart starts racing, and he freezes up. The insect monster is huge. Next to it, everything else looks tiny. Jaehyuk and Cossack look small. Jaehyuk stands there just staring at this monster on the 10th floor, and it's way bigger than he expected. He can't wrap his head around how anyone else ever managed to beat something this huge. Thinking about how they only sent 2 people to handle what they call insects honestly feels like humans are getting disrespected. Cossack starts to say something, but Jaehyuk jumps in first, making it clear his pride actually took a hit. The monster locks its huge eyes right on them. Jaehyuk's rooting for Cossack hard, really hoping he'll step up and keep fighting. The monster went for Cossack, swinging its arm right at him, but he was quick and dodged without even thinking. He's got a dagger in each hand, locked in and ready for whatever's coming. His face suddenly gets super serious, like he means business now. The monster gets torn apart in seconds, pieces flying everywhere. It's done for, taken out right then and there. A reward pop-up shows up on the screen. Jaehyuk just beat the 10th floor mission, his level goes up, and he gets handed a whole kilo of magic stones. The system blasts out that he cleared it with an S++ rank, and he scores another platinum badge for his collection. Cossack flashes a cute smile, looking proud that he's wrapped up the mission. A new system message popped up, letting everyone know the 11th floor was unlocked, and it was time to head out of the tower. Jaehyuk's stash of magic stones just hit 5.5 kilograms. He also had a bunch of platinum badges. Suddenly, a new system message pops up, letting him know he just unlocked a special perk for hitting 10 platinum badges. Jaehyuk gets hyped, but at the same time, he's kind of lost since he has no clue what the perk actually does. The system jumps in and breaks it down for him. This perk lets him snag 1 skill from any creature he summons. Suddenly, a whole menu pops up skills like Blade Explosion, Shock Break, Vile Ambush, Poison Dagger, Shadow Step, Disruption, Stealth, Invisibility, Polymorph, and a bunch more. Jaehyuk starts to process that copying a skill like this is actually on the table. It's all brand new to him, and he's just now figuring it out. Cossack gets his attention and lays it out straight. Shadow Step is the move. Jaehyuk just sits there, not sure what to think. Cossack breaks it down for him. If you ever get the shot to copy a skill like that, you don't even need to think twice. Shadow Step is always the pick. When Jaehyuk wants to know why, Cossack tells him it's just easier to dip if things go sideways. That way, if anything happens, Jaehyuk can get out fast without making noise. Hearing that, Jaehyuk gets a bit down. He starts thinking about what Cossack actually thinks about him. For a second, he questions if Cossack would really ditch the whole squad just to save himself. But after a moment, he gets it. Cossack isn't that type of guy. Right then, a notification popped up on his screen. He just unlocked the Shadow Step skill, and it instantly showed up in his status window. Jaehyuk's mind is locked on how much footwork actually matters in a fight. He remembers hearing that your steps can pretty much decide who wins. Now he's just curious if those moves really hold up outside of training in a real throwdown. He tries out some flash step footwork moves in the garden, trying to get the hang of it. Meanwhile, inside, Cossack just chills and watches the drama, totally relaxed. After grinding for a while, Juyuk just runs out of energy and drops to the floor. He's thinking if summoning actually works in real life, then this should have done something, but there's still no reaction. Cossack, not really knowing what's up, just goes along with whatever Juyuk says. It jumps to day 11 of climbing the tower. Juyuk is on his phone calling someone. The person on the phone says they're with the Awakener Management Administration call center. Juyuk, kind of on edge, tells them who he is and lets them know he's awakened. The call center goes wild, hyping him up so loud he has to yank the phone away from his ear. They ask if some government workers can swing by his place, and Juyuk just drops his address without thinking too much. The call wraps up with a quick thanks for helping out. Bong Joyok, just a regular guy, decided to hit up the Awakener administration and sell off some magic stones. For him, this was hands down the boldest move he'd ever made in his 25 years. The story jumps back to the admin office. Minna heads over to a car, looking like she's got somewhere important to go. He heads inside and spots Gwangle already there, waiting. Gwangle wants to know about the Awakener from Daegu who reached out yesterday. Mina lets him know she's not convinced that person actually owns the S++ record. Gwangle's getting annoyed at this point, starting to doubt if the person is even real. Mina lets everyone know there's another awakening request in today. She wants to see if Gwangil's in too. Gwangil says they've got to keep grinding while they've got the chance. If that really is the person they think it is, there's no way they're letting them go. No matter what it takes, they've got to get them on the elite team. After Cossack dipped, Juyuk got locked in on cleaning his room. He made sure every corner was spotless and tossed out all the trash. Not long after, the Awakener Management Administration showed up right outside his house. They were looking for him. Juyuk swings the door open right away, lets them know it's a tight spot, and waves them in. Gwangil steps up, walks in, and drops his intro as team leader John Gwangil. He points out Deputy Director Lee Min-ae, letting everyone know she's a player too. As soon as Juyuk spots Min-ae, his nerves go up big time. When it's his turn to introduce himself, he totally messes it up. Minna keeps moving in, closing the gap between them. He can feel his nerves spiking hard. Minna gets right up in Juyuk's face and asks if he's the S++ Awakener. Juyuk's face goes bright red. He's totally caught off guard and can't hide how embarrassed he is. Juyuk backed up, totally embarrassed, while his thoughts started spinning out of control. He started thinking hard about what was really happening, and if there was some secret way to spot awakened people that he just hadn't heard about yet. He figured he'd just play it cool and pretend nothing was up, telling himself to keep it chill for now. But instead of acting normal, he started talking super stiff. Almost like a robot that glitched out. He claimed he might have heard something like that before, but insisted it wasn't him, then let out this awkward laugh that made things even weirder. Mina eyed him, looking like she didn't trust a word he said, and Jack could tell right away. This was the old-school sign that someone was capping. Gwangil just snapped and tried to smack Mina on the head, annoyed that she was poking her nose into stuff again. He started calling her manager Lee, and clearly wasn't having it. Mina moved out of the way fast and told him she'd chill out next time. Gwangil stepped up and apologized to Juyuk, actually showing some respect and even calling him a player. Juyuk tried to play it cool, saying it was all good, even though he was a little on edge. In his head, he finally caught on. Mina was just trying to get some info out of him the whole time. Right then, this character popped up looking kind of unreal, like something straight out of a game. It was Tabi, the mascot repping Korea's Black Towers. Tabi started breaking down what was really going on, basically telling everyone to stick around and find out the truth about the tower. Tabi pulled back the cover and showed off this huge, pitch-black tower that made even the tallest skyscraper look tiny. This was the Black Tower. Tabi talked about how these towers just popped up out of nowhere all over the world, like 20 years back. Right away, every country started sending soldiers and experts to figure out what these things were about. Nobody could get close to them because some invisible wall just blocked everyone out. The tower only showed what it really was when players showed up. It worked like a game, with players going up floor by floor. On the outside, though, these players were just regular people. Under the surface, these guys had some insane powers and skills. With the rewards they scored from the tower, players leveled up their gear and made a huge impact on the world's economy. Suddenly, a system alert popped up saying the country was slacking on Black Tower progress. Right after, another message dropped. Now there was a timer for the tower to collapse, and the only way to stop it was to beat an upper floor nobody had cleared yet. Tabi broke it down. If nobody reached a new floor in 6 months, that timer would start, and eventually, the whole tower would just fall apart. Then another warning hit. This Black Tower was actually starting to collapse. Right after that, it hit everyone that Mumbai had vanished the same way just 3 years back. Tabi switched things up and started talking about South Korea. Every country had their own black towers, usually 1 to 3, but Korea only had one, and it was way out in the Gangwon Mountains. The number of players in Korea was pretty low, somewhere between 5 and 10,000, which was like barely 0.1 to 0.2% of the whole country. Even with such a small squad, Korea was actually crushing it. Their crew had already made it to floor 65 in the Black Tower, second in the world, just behind the US at floor 66. Tabi made sure everyone knew the players were. Tabi looked at the awakened ones and basically said climbing the tower now is like when people used to explore brand new continents back in the day. He called them the hope of their time and hyped them up to sign up as official players, telling them they could be heroes too. Once the video finished, Gwangil told Joo-hyuk they were done with the required watch. Joo-hyuk couldn't help but cringe inside, thinking the whole thing felt like some weird propaganda. The way Gwangil switched gears and made it sound like a TED Talk threw him off, and then they jumped straight into some questions to double-check. It got real when they asked if Bong Joo-hyuk was actually awakened or not. Joo-hyuk let everyone know he'd already gone into the tower and knocked out a few levels, picking up some magic crystals along the way. Gwangil heard that and basically said things would be smooth from here, then wanted to know how far Joo-hyuk had actually gotten. Joo-hyuk told him he was sitting at floor 10. Gwangil caught Mina's eye, both of them thinking the same thing. Was this guy really the one who set that insane S++ record? Mina wanted to know if Joo-hyuk had seen all the global notices that everyone was talking about lately. Joo-hyuk tried to act chill, but he still sounded stiff when he mentioned the S++ grade clears. He awkwardly hyped up the mystery player, calling them amazing even though it came out weird. Gwangil noticed and told him to relax a bit. Joo-hyuk thought maybe he was just way too nervous, but honestly, anyone watching him would think he was acting super Suze. You could literally see his body twitching. Gwangil started breaking down the contract stuff. He told them the government split players into 2 groups, and the first one was the elite climbing team. Most climbers, like almost 70%, were in the main group. The next group was the general climbing team, where guys basically made their own schedules and did climbs on their own terms, kind of like freelancing. The elite team was a different story though. They worked straight with the government's Awakened Management Agency, had to push up to higher floors, and got perks like personal security when they weren't in the tower. Outside the tower, players didn't get treated any different than regular people. Plus, signing up for the elite team meant you locked in a base salary every year. Joo-hyuk started freaking out on the inside, worried that if everyone found out he was the S++ record holder, things would get out of hand fast. He was about to blow up, with reporters all around him snapping pics and trying to get his attention. That was exactly what he was trying to avoid. When someone brought up the idea of signing up for the elite exam, he just straight up said no. Mina kept tracking her head, marking it as another time things didn't go as planned. She noticed most players would quit pushing forward and just hang back to farm where it was safer. Most people never turned down the elite track, especially not right in front of everyone. She looked at him and instantly decided he didn't have what it takes. In her eyes, there was no way he belonged with the top team. He figured that even if he tried to sign up, they'd never let him in. He just didn't have the drive they were looking for. Gwangil totally got where Joo-hyuk was coming from, so he just let him take the next step and head into the tower first. Joo-hyuk decided to go through with the last step to prove he was really awake. Gwangil didn't want to waste his daily run, so he brought up the idea of clearing it while they were already inside. He pointed out that pretty much everyone did that. Joo-hyuk paused for a second, picking up on the hint. Gwangil was still trying to find out if he was the S++ clearer. He said he'd handle the floor, but told everyone not to expect it to be quick. He usually needed almost the whole time, and sometimes it took nearly 2 hours. Mina didn't mind at all. It was literally what they were supposed to do anyway, so she just told him to chill and not rush. Jae just told everyone to chill and watch some TV while he stepped out for a bit. 1 second he was there, and the next, he was just gone. Back in the room, Gwangil brought up Joo-hyuk and wanted to know if Mina actually believed he was awakened or not. Mina didn't really know for sure, but she pointed out how he always acts super shy. She guessed he'd probably bail once he hit floor 11. She told them she'd already handled that part on her own, saying floors 11 through 15 were all about messing with your fears. Gwangil brought up those creepy long-tailed burrow centipedes. Mina said, yeah, those things showed up, but honestly, they weren't that hard to take down. These things were straight up nasty, and the mission was to take out 100 of them. Gwangil pointed out that just looking at them was enough to creep anyone out. Mina didn't think anyone that scared could actually pull it off. She was pretty sure he'd just dip back to the safe zone and bail on the whole thing. Gwangil realized she'd been right up to this point, so she grabbed her phone and called the director to let him know they'd hit another wall with this case. Joo-hyuk stepped into the tower and called out for Cossack. The Cossacks gave him a quick salute and showed some respect for reaching out to them. A system window popped up showing the mission for floor 11. He had to take down 100 long-tailed burrow centipedes in under 3 hours. If he bailed or got taken out, that was it, game over. Juyak let out a frustrated sigh just thinking about having to deal with 100 centipedes. Meanwhile, Cossack looked way too calm, acting like he could take care of them in no time. Ju-Hook realized it usually took 5 minutes to get through 100 centipedes, but he told Cossack to go slow-like, stretch it out to an hour. He didn't want anyone breaking records and drawing attention. He knew people were watching from outside, so he even said he'd shut down the summon inside the tower that day just to play it safe. Cossack threw up a thumbs up, showing he totally got what was going on. Juliak just grinned to himself, thinking getting inside the tower should have been all the proof anyone needed. But now he'd said yes to a quest, and he was getting ready to slip out of that stacked S++ trap even if his track record was all over the place. Cossack started slicing. He took down centipedes one after another, not slowing down for a second. Juliak figured everything would finally chill out now. Out of nowhere, he spotted a centipede right in front of him. He looked down and saw something under him for a second. He just stood there totally stuck, like his body wouldn't let him do anything. Cossack saw his summoner stuck with those centipedes and didn't waste a second. He jumped right in, ready to handle it, and sliced through without hesitating. Sorry, there is not enough context or content in the provided sentence and data to rewrite. Please provide the full sentence or additional script to proceed. Juliak thought Cossack was just rushing things and told him to chill out and slow down as much as he could. Cossack turned it down, putting Juhayak's safety before anything else. Juhayak told him to chill out and not overdo it. A pop-up suddenly announced that floor 11 of Korea's Black Tower just got hit with an S-clear. That meant a platinum badge dropped, and the door to floor 12 was now open. Right after, another message confirmed he was out of the Black Tower. Juliak got annoyed and let out a curse under his breath. Cossack just nodded and owned up, saying sorry. Back in the room, Mina and Gwangil hung out, just waiting around, when suddenly a system window popped up on the screen. Juliak just pulled off an S-clear on floor 11. A few seconds passed, and Ju-Hyuk showed up. Mina spotted him, and both of them just froze, totally caught off guard. The S rating showed up pretty much right when player Bong showed up. Juliak let out a heavy sigh, clearly not thrilled about what he was about to do. He made it clear that things had gone too far, and now both of them had to be dealt with. Just then, Cossack moved up behind them, looking ready to throw hands. Juliak told Cossack to tie up Mina and Gwangil, but Cossack just went straight for it and took their heads off instead. Ju-Yob just froze, mind racing, wondering if he'd ever actually told Cossack to go that far. Inside he was freaking out, but on the outside he kept it together. Ju-Yuk started freaking out and quickly said sorry to Mina and Gwangil. Out of nowhere, everything in front of Ju-Yuk just fell apart. He snapped back to reality, realizing he'd gotten way too lost in his own head. Mina and Gwangil both clocked that something was off. Ju-Yuk was sweating out of nowhere and checked if he was alright. He brushed it off, acting like it was no big deal. Still, deep down, he knew he must have been overthinking way more than he thought. Gwangil kept talking, making it clear that his team was looking for someone just like player Bong. He really wanted Bong to join, saying the squad wouldn't be complete without his skills. Ju-Yuk got kinda weird and made it clear he wasn't really vibing with what was going on. He tossed out the idea that maybe people were getting things twisted, saying his 11th floor run probably just lined up with someone else's. He played it up, pretending to be super surprised like it was some wild random thing. Gwangil noticed something was off about how everything lined up so perfectly. Right away, Ju-Yuk started defending himself, tripping over his own words and saying sorry a bunch of times. He tried to explain that he just picked up how everyone else talks. He really tried to make it clear he had nothing to do with it. Even when Gwangil kept asking, Ju-Yuk just laughed it off, still saying he wasn't the one. Gwangil nodded, then handed him one of those elite contract cards. Ju-Hyuk checked it out, kind of skeptical if that was actually the card, and instead just asked for a regular contract. Gwangil let everyone know that deals like this just don't happen in their world. People called it the ultra-elite contract. This gig paid out $12 billion a year, hooked him up with crazy real estate perks, treated him like a VIP everywhere he went, gave him top-tier security, and let him skip out on stuff regular people had to deal with. Ju-Hyuk started to get it. This was basically being untouchable, like those old-school nobles who did whatever they wanted. Gwang-il kept going, pointing out that right now only Yu Chilman, the top player in Korea, gets these kinds of perks. He mentioned the contract basically hooks you up with every possible benefit the country has to offer. Ju-Hyuk smacked the table, not holding back at all. He straight up wasn't interested in being a player unless the contract was normal. No weird terms, nothing off. Gwang-il wanted to know why he was pushing back so hard. Ju-Hyuk explained he just wasn't trying to have everyone's eyes on him. Ju-Hyuk realized that whenever people started focusing on him, it honestly weighed him down. The attention just stacked up and stressed him out, making his chest feel way too tight. Gwang-il and Mina knew Ju-Hyuk liked his space, so they decided to give him some room and just chill for a bit. Gwang-il realized how he really felt and decided to just go with the regular contract. They gave each other a quick handshake and headed out. As he watched them leave, Ju-Hyuk figured most people would probably get annoyed if they saw what was happening. They'd probably tell him to just go for the elite contract, take the perks, and level up without thinking twice. He got it. When you score big, you've got to handle bigger responsibilities too. Signing that top-tier contract meant there was no way he could dodge those intense upper-floor raids. Those squads were built just to take on the toughest, most unknown parts of the tower. Ju-hyuk honestly wanted no part of that pressure. He just wanted things to chill out compared to how rough life used to be. The story jumped over to the Awakeners Management Bureau in Hanamdong, Seoul. The commissioner pulled up on Gwang-gil, clearly not happy with how things were going. He pointed out that Gwang-gil's report didn't match what was happening now. Gwang-gil had told him the player was kind of timid and not really hungry to level up, but what they were seeing now was on a whole different level. Gwang-gil agreed with what was said. The commissioner just couldn't figure out how a person like that managed to hit S++ rank. Gwang-gil nodded and said Ju-hyuk was pretty different from most people. He said the guy was so normal that it actually stood out. The commissioner got loud and made it clear that Ju-hyuk needed to be brought in. No excuses. Gwang-gil nodded, showing he got what was being asked. In the next scene, Ju-hyuk acted like he was super pissed and stepped up to Cossack, making a big deal about how he'd told everyone to keep things under wraps, but now it was all out there anyway. Cossack said sorry, realizing he messed up. Ju-hyuk let him know straight up that if he messed around again, he'd get nothing and would be sent back on the spot. Cossack apologized one more time, making it clear he got the message. A system pop-up showed up, letting everyone know they'd just stepped into the 12th floor of the Black Tower in South Korea. The new quest was pretty clear. Take down 20 icicle spear weasels in under 3 hours. The counter was sitting at 0 out of 20, and if they messed up or bailed, it was game over. Literally. As they walked in, the cold hit hard, freezing everything around them. Ju-hyuk told Cossack to be super careful, and Cossack just nodded, ready to play it safe. Ju-hyuk started to relax, noticing how Cossack replied right away without any weird pauses. This time, he felt like he could actually count on him. Ju-hyuk figured that if he just finished the 12th floor like usual, the agency would probably stop paying attention. He couldn't handle how freezing it was. Cossack saw Ju-hyuk and wondered if he was freezing. Cossack started taking out the bear-looking monsters one by one, not wasting any time because he wanted to get Ju-hyuk somewhere warmer. The 12th floor was already empty, so Ju-hyuk couldn't help feeling let down again. Right then, Gwang-gil couldn't believe it and hit him up, wanting to know if he really just cleared the 12th floor. Ju-hyuk nodded, letting everyone know it was true, then mentioned the 13th floor could be tough. Cossack just tossed out the idea of watching TV like it was no big deal. Out of nowhere, Ju-hyuk started crying and shut that down fast, saying TV was off the table because Cossack didn't listen. They headed up to the 13th floor of the Black Tower. Cossack darted forward, moving so fast it barely looked real, and took out everything on the 13th floor in no time. Next, he took out all the monsters on the 14th floor and wrapped up that quest too. Later, Ju-hyuk pulled up his account to see what he'd made. The money from selling the magic stones showed up 2.75 million won. After they took out the 35% cut, what he actually got was 2 million won for the standard player support fund. The magic stones he brought back from floors 11 to 14 weighed in at 5 kilograms, which meant they were worth around 2.5 million won. Ju-hyuk checked his balance and saw he racked up more than 10 million in just 2 weeks. He started thinking if he could make it to the 20th floor without any problems, the magic stones he'd get would easily be at least 2 kilos. If the agency took care of selling, he'd be pulling in a straight-up $1 million every day. No cuts, no taxes, nothing taken out. That's just $1 million dropped into his account every single day. He started picturing what life would be like making 30 million won every month, and after thinking about it, he just dropped his part-time job. The next day rolled around, and Ju-hyuk called Cossack back in. Cossack got down on one knee, owning up to his mess-up and showing he knew he'd seriously crossed the line by not following orders. He honestly had no idea what to do with himself. Once he hit the 15th floor, he just wanted some space to keep going without stressing. Ju-hyuk just nodded, saying he wouldn't tell him to slow down anymore. He knew the agency was already onto everything anyway. He started doing the math in his head. If he managed to clear the 15th floor with another S++ rank, that'd give him 15 platinum badges. With that many, he figured his odds of scoring another perk were pretty solid. He could tell he was getting a bit greedy now, but he couldn't help it. Stacking more perks just made him feel way safer. Ju-hyuk let everyone know it was time to move out, and they stepped onto the 15th floor. Goblins showed up, and Ju-hyuk had never seen anything like them before. Cossack told him to stay hidden and not mess around. He started doing his thing, not holding back. Using their stealth skill, the Cossacks moved in quietly and took out every goblin on that floor without making a sound. He hit the floor. Ju-hyuk just stood there, totally stunned by what he was seeing. It was honestly unreal. They got back home, and right away, Ju-hyuk opened up his inventory to see what he had. He checked and realized he'd racked up 15 silver badges. His heartbeat picked up as he noticed the new condition just kicked in. After grabbing 5 badges, he unlocked the trait enhancement perk, snagging 10 badges had given him skill copy. Now, with 15 badges stacked up, he was just waiting to see what reward was coming his way next.